I love it. Well, let's jump in. Today, what I'm really excited to go into is a topic that you guys have asked for. We've talked about a little bit in the past, and I want to dive into it more. So what we're going to be going into is really this question, right? And the question is, if AI asked about you, what would it find? Right? So the reality of saying, hey, search is changing. We can all admit that. We all do it. I know I've had you guys raise your hands in the past, and you guys now use one of your favorite AIs to ask questions about something, right? So search is changing overall, and making sure that you guys are on top of that, what that looks like, how we kind of help us get there is what today's all about. And here's kind of one of the big things to kind of get you in this spot. Is this right here. This right here I got from Gary Keller, sent it out in one of his emails to me. And it was going through and showing that really AI recommendations are changing and going up drastically. So from 25 to 26, Google is still holding first, right? Google search is still right now number one, but it went down from 83 to 71%, where Facebook actually went up. So people are doing more of doing searches for businesses through Facebook. And then the AI went from 6% to 45%. Right? So this is just the top three. This is just the ones that's like, hey, where, what, and how. But I wanted to show this point because I know when I've asked you guys about, okay, who's now using AI as their Google search, right? That's, of course, the lowest level of using AI. But the reality is that's also where people are going to, right? Yeah.
Where it says Gen AI tools.
Yeah.
Gemini. Isn't Gemini Google's?
It is. So the thing is, so you're right. So Gen AI has all of those in there. It's lumping them all together. Yes, Gemini is owned by Google, which is going to pull up similar results in ways, but it still acts differently than a Google search. And that's what we're going to talk about is how the different ones are interacting and what that looks like. So here's the thing. With it changing, I want it where your guys' reputation continues to go with you. What you've done is shown more often, more places, right? We just talked about how, you guys as an office, we're growing. We're doing more deals. We're getting more things closing. Like you guys are top notch. So how do we help the world continue to see that? And that's what I'm going to go into. And this is kind of the big thing of these three. So I'm going to talk about this. And first question is, who's heard of SEO? Good, all of you. SEO is what the Google search is going off of. SEO is all about how does something get ranked on that front page, right? If you have enough SEO, then it moves you up, right? If you have enough things in this spot, enough keywords, enough links, enough crossing, like all of those things that people do for SEO, that's going to be how do you get there. It's still important. We just saw, of course, that Google very much has still a huge footprint in what's going on. The reality, though, is SEO is not how AI is going to find you. AI is looking at, then that's where these two came out, is GEO, which we're going to talk about quite a bit, and AEO. And they're slightly different. GEO is going to be very much of where AI goes to find the answer. And its goal is really to be retrieved. So it's finding things that are answerable, because it's different when you ask, of course, on Google, what is the top real estate agent? People don't do the same question into a relationship of AI. They go and say, hey, I'm looking for a house in this specific spot, and I have this question. So the thing is, how does it pull it up and say, hey, I can find your information for the specific answer, and this is the agent that I would recommend. The cool part is I can't even remember where I found it, but I was reading all these different things about this going on. And one of them was going through a cool example of somebody getting a call, and they got the call and they said, oh yeah, we searched on AI. And the thing is, all the information that was on there, they did such a good job answering the questions that they said, no, I don't even need to meet with you. Just send me over the contract. Because they already had, kind of like the videos we talked about earlier, they already had the explanation of the ERS somewhere. They already had all this information that was helpful for the person so that they already felt comfortable and confident in what was next. And that's kind of where we want to talk about what this is. And AEO is a little bit different, and it's not a whole lot different. From my understanding, what it is it's the quick answers. So I know if you guys go on to one of the Gen AI tools, if you went to like Chat GPT, you can do it where it's fast or thinking. Have you guys seen that toggle where you can be like, all right, the fast is going to be pulling more from quick answers around the web, where GEO is going to do a deep dive when it's thinking. So it's just going to be how does the answers kind of come? Yeah.
GEO is search engine optimization. What does GEO represent?
Generative engine operation, and I think I can't remember what AEO stands for now that I'm saying it. So generative engine optimization, because that's what, right? Okay, so I like this quote, right? Google says generative AI, there it is, generative AI search is still rooted in core search quality, crawlability, and helpful content, not magic AI hacks. So the thing is, you still need to be having it where you're doing and having some good SEO kind of style aspects. But what I want to talk about are the different things that you can be doing specifically to help you with the GEO and the AEO. And that's kind of what we're going to dive in today. So here's a little bit of the difference. So there it is, answer engine optimization. So focus is, so it's getting cited inside AI generated responses. It's thinking, it's the thinking side, right? It's depth, credibility, consistency across sources. That's huge. Like if you have multiple sources that AI is finding you, have the same name, right? Instead of if you're called, Jen Polson in one spot and Jennifer Polson in another spot, it should be the same across all platforms. Throw in the engine. So outcome, right? Your content is used by AI. That's the goal of GEO. The AEO is going to be like directly answering users' questions. So it's going to be more specific, more smaller chunks. How can it find it fast, right? This is going to be clarity, structure, concise responses. The biggest way that when I was learning about this more that helped me kind of imagine it was just from YouTube's point of view as one source. This is your long form. This is your short form. So this is going to be your, 11 to 20 minute or, kind of content. This is going to be your 90 seconds or less kind of content, right? And of course, that goes into other spots. That goes into your social media side. That goes into all of those areas. But this is where AI is trying to dive into that to help you out. So I kind of was thinking, all right, what's kind of been this process? If you look at SEO, right? All right, really mid 1990s is when it kind of started happening. Kind of the early movers really built it and authorized it. And at this time, it was very like you learned it and it was free. Then everybody came to the point where then it was like competitive and you paying for it, right? If you want more SEO, then you had to pay for it. You have to pay for someone to do this, or you can do things, but to get up to the very top, it's like, how did you get there? And there's so much more to it, right? The cool part is we're at the beginning for GEO kind of style. So rather than saying, hey, let's not take advantage of it this time, right? Let's go through what's the process, how do we do that, and how do we continue to have it be where more and more people can find you guys, right? And I think it's going to help you in so many other aspects as well, and that's why I feel like it's a worthwhile conversation. So, okay, and here's the thing. I'm not going to give you tricks or tips kind of thing to trick AI. Because the reality is this needs to be the good content, and AI wants to find the truth of this. That's the main goal, is how do I answer this question truthfully? Of course, over the time, we know how AI has reacted and how it's gotten better. But its whole goal is to answer the question correctly for you. So that's where we're going to have to go in, and what does this look like to get it there? Okay, so here's kind of the whole thought process of your reputation must travel with you, right? So we have it where you need to be visible, you need to be out there, you need to be specific, right? This is going to be where a lot of what I'm going to talk about is not being generic, because a lot of the times I see too generic of everything. And if you ask AI about something, it's going to give you the generic answer up front because you're not being specific enough yourself. I think niches and getting better and better with what your niche is going to help you massively with that being specific aspect. So if you have something or an area or something you want to get really good at, then that's going to be where you can get more and more specific, right? And then connected. So this is going to be where it gets aligned with exactly what people are asking and what the questions are out there. So the trust source. Here's kind of going to be what some of the spots it's looking at. One is it is going to look at business reviews or reviews in other spots. So like if your reviews are on Zillow, if your review, like wherever they're at, the more spots that you have more reviews and it consistently is telling something of, hey, you can trust this person, I like kind of aspect, that's going to help AI. Your next part is going to be social posts. This is going to be very much of like, the freshest, like new stuff, get it out there, help answer those questions. LinkedIn and social, it gives you different kind of aspects. It might be a little more long form. It might be a little bit more of what that looks like. Your YouTube and transcripts, having it be where you're like, you can do so many things with YouTube, right? You can have your long form on there and then you can have it turn into your short-term shorts on there as well. And having it be so that can get in that spot. The next part is going to be, okay, your website, your frequently asked questions, and your bio. How do you have it be where that is at high of a level as possible and continuing to improve it? Right? And then directory and portals. So this is going to be where it's like, what are the different spots that you're showing up? And there's a lot more. The reality is, this is just a snippet to show you, depending on what you're wanting, right? Right now with Harold, right, my AI that I've been working with, he's pretty cool. But he right now has been going through, and for a lot of my stuff, he goes into all my different social channels and critiques it for me and continues to work on that. So the thing is, how and where and what are you using with this aspect to help you improve that part for your business? So the thing is, okay, not what one source is going to make all the difference for you. You kind of have to be in multiple sources. The great thing is if you create something for one source, there's a lot of ways now that you can distribute that into others. So for example, when I go through and I create one of my YouTube videos, then I actually take that and I then create that into an article to put onto LinkedIn. And then I go and take that same thing into a short version to put onto X, right? For example. But you can go take that one piece of content and you can distribute it in multiple ways. If you use Opus, right? That's a pretty cool tool right now that will go through and cut it into 60 to 90 second little pieces. So you can then put your YouTube video of your long form into that and it will crop it for you, right? Lots of different ways, but the thing is you just need to be telling the same story in multiple ways. And that's where it's going to be kind of going into what that looks like. So I told you I'd mention this a bit more, right? But this is where generic, I help buyers and sellers in Southern Utah, right? Congrats. You are one of those agents, right? Where if you were specific, all right, I help move up families in St. George plan and sell their purchase together as one strategy. Very different feel. And it depends on what you want to focus on, right? Because we can go to the bold law of what you focus on expands. So you figure out kind of what you want to be the best at. That doesn't mean you're going to say no to somebody who says, I want to do something over here. But what do you want to be the best at so you can make the best content for that? All right? And then you want to put it out there. Put it into the different spots. Have it so that it goes in the right places so you can truly work on that. So, but yeah, specific beats generic. Like AI wants to know very specific answers for what people are asking for. So continue to work towards that goal. So here's kind of what we're going to do. The thing is, I want to show you kind of the thought process that I have around creating some of this. You don't have a worksheet, but So you're going to go through, I did make it, I didn't print it. That's the problem. But I want you to think through, and the first thing you're going to think of is a targeted question. And this right here is going to give you kind of what you're going to build off of to be able to go figure that out in that specific lane, having it so you have your 3-sentence answer of what that is for AEO's purpose. And then also you can kind of build on that and have it so that you have your long form of what that looks like. And then make sure that you're always using some good sources, right? So either A, your experiences are great. Experiences are something that you can talk about because it's your experience, right? The next thing would be then to have it where it kind of builds on that and you can talk about other sources. So here's the thing I would tell you guys to go do in the next 24 hours. I would tell you to go update your bio, draft your first post, ask for a review, right? It's not right. Frequently asked questions. Have it where you start having that and putting that somewhere so that you can kind of have it. Improve your videos, right? Update Google Business, update LinkedIn, or record a short video. All of these will do the same thing, and it just depends on what you want to do. So I'd say go figure out what's the 1 or 2 that you're like, all right, I can go do that in the next 24 hours to improve my GEO. The other thing I would do is I would tell you to go with whatever AI you are using, have it go do like a research about you. Have it ask it, hey, I just had a class. One of my favorite things to do is when I go to some of my classes or some of the things with my coach, I'll take my transcript, the video, and I'll give it to my AI and say, hey, this is the class I went to, and I want to do this. And then it goes and looks at the whole transcript, and it comes back and says, hey, that was really cool. You just learned from this person, this, and this. This fits really well here with our, kind of a conversation. And then I can then figure out and better implement, right? Because if we think about the 6 personal perspectives, one of them is make learning-based the foundation of your action plan. So being learning-based, showing up, coming to these, learning is huge, but then actually having it be implemented into your action plan is going to be what gets you that much farther in what you want to do next. Okay. And some of you, this is not true. Some of you want to be famous, so that's your job. But for most of you, your job is not to become famous this week. Your job is to become clear. And that's kind of where I'm thinking, okay, what are those things? What are those questions that you get asked that you can then go and, put that benefit out to the world? One of my coaches was having a fun time talking about a book. And he's like, man, I doubt this book was a top seller. But that book, it was actually about programming, changed his life. And he's like, I went from being where I was at to here. He's like, what kind of content could you be putting out to the world that changes that one person's life, right? Answers that one person's question better, kind of a thing. That's where I'm just like, how do you get clearer on what you're talking about and what your message is will help you in a lot of ways. So, right, pick one question, attach real proof, and put it somewhere findable. Don't leave it on your phone. Right? If you record it, your phone is not the right spot just to let it sit. I know, so rude. So rude.
Plus or minus to do it visually on a video or have it written down? Is there?
I love that question. So what I've seen is people build better rapport when they see you. So like for what we do, having it where it has the visual of you when you're talking is beneficial because then it does build that trust. Right? At the same time, the written
AI looking more that there's going to be a difference of what it's pulled from.
Correct. And I don't think the thing is it can find it so fast in so many ways anyways. I don't think it matters. But I do think that the written side I've seen a lot of people do really well on. And that's where it's like, how do you put it out in the right spots? That's why frequently asked questions, I think it's a great one to have it somewhere, written, but it's also, you could do each one of those questions and do a short video, right? And if your short video is, I have people all the time ask, what is earnest money and how does it work? Let me explain it to you, right? Earnest, whatever that video is, right? But yes, and then the thing is, okay, now having the written word also findable somewhere else shows consistency too, right? So good question. I love that. Okay, So here's kind of going to be the thing. This is an example that I got from one of my coaches. I attended their class, so of course it's not Utah related whatsoever, but I wanted to show you this so you could kind of get your brain thinking. So this right here is the first step. The first step that I would use, and I've done this now and I love it, is with Gemini. I would go and using Gemini, I would go have it and be specific and ask what people are asking because Gemini is connected with Google. It's a great one for research. And I would be specific. I would be last 30 days. I would be, have it be where it gives you things that are actually prominent of what people are looking for right now. And then you can go and do that, right? And the more specific you are, the better it's going to be in that way for helping you get to that next level, right? Then the next thing is after that, you're going to then put it in. It's going to give you examples. So this one, of course, was giving you examples that are specific to that area of what people are asking, right? So again, think of where do you want to be specific. If you want to be in St. George or hurricane specific or, right, wherever you want to be specific at, or even more specific. Like you could say, hey, I want to only focus on desert color, right? Like what does that look like and how do you get more specific on questions in that way? Then the next part is I would go to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a great spot for scripts. So this is where you're going to then go through and now give it that information, that question, and ask and figure out, hey, what's the hook? What's the thing that I should use? And then you're going to edit it to be something that works for you, right? And have it be where you have your own flavor. Because the reality is we're all different. And one of my coaches, one of the things I love that he says is there's so many people in the world that we will have friends in other spots. Right? Like you're going to be able to find and attract the right people in those ways. Okay, the next one is make the video. This is where you're going to go through and have it work. You can use the edits app if that's one spot you're wanting to do. And there's even a spot for your teleprompter, right? It will take you a couple times. You can go through it and figure that out, right? The thing is, you'll also get better. All the people that I'm learning more and more YouTube from, if I go look at their first video versus the videos that they're doing now, are drastically different, right? And having it where when you're doing that, then it gives you more and more practice to kind of be in that spot, work on it, and kind of be able to go through that process. And that's going to be then that next part of using like ChatGPT or one of the other ones. You can pick and choose, right? They all have their own things, whatever you're using, but having it be where it's specific. So if you're going to create a caption for something, it should be different on something else. It should be a different heading in a different spot, right? All of those are different because the reality is they all have a different focus. So then how do you kind of go through and have your content be in different places with the same theme or content that you just did will help it go that much farther rather than copying and pasting and just putting it in each spot, right? Because, if you have the same on Instagram that you're then going to go put on X, it's not going to do as well, right? Because they have different things that they're looking for and they like. So that's going to be where now do you go put it and go through that process, put them in the right spots, have it be where they work in those different ways and kind of do that. But that's a little bit of the gist of GEO. And I very much would say ask AI, right? So if I think about some of the examples I've been doing recently, I go through the process. You guys know, of course, some of you have geeked out with me and sat in my room and you've seen like the brain that I've created for my AI. And yeah, I know some of you are nervous about that. And it has all the content. It knows everything about me and it knows everything about all this stuff. And the cool part is I can kind of act and it does stuff for me, but it knows what I've done in the past. It reads all my emails and it like does those kind of things. So it does the drafts for me based on other emails that I've written, right? So the thing is, when you're doing this with GEO, I would say ask it. The more information, more it knows about you, the better it's going to be able to kind of help you get there as well. So going through and asking your AI and just saying, hey, I'm wanting to improve my GEO, right? what is one thing that I can do this week that would help me get there? And then have it kind of go through that process. Give it this YouTube video when it comes to your email and say, hey, here's a YouTube video. I really enjoyed, if you did, don't lie. I enjoyed this content and want to, improve my GEO. What is something that, knowing me, that I should have in my business, right? Going through that process to have that ability to take something and now putting it into multiple spots and doing it where you're doing it with less and less effort, right? Because that's the whole goal of being a business owner. Who is your staff who's helping you in certain things, right? And if you have, that's why if you look at a lot of the big digital companies, they don't have one person who does it all, right? They have someone who helps write the script, and then they have the person who's in front of the screen, and they have the person who does the editing. How can you get as much of that done and leverage AI or, hire someone to help kind of get you there? But yeah, we have a little bit of time. Questions? I overwhelmed you guys.
Be glazed. Okay.
A little.
It's a lot.
Where would you say would be the best places to add content?
I think YouTube personally is a fantastic spot that is doing really well. So if you're going to do videos, I think YouTube's the best spot to start. Because the reality is if you have it be where, yes, that means you film it like this, you can take that and still have it be where it turns into a reel. You can still have it where it turns, I think if you do it that way, it's so much easier to go to other sources. Where if you start with Instagram, then going from Instagram to YouTube, you now are gonna have to probably record two. Which
There, is it within 40?
so I mean,
There.
yeah, there's a whole bunch that can do it because you just have to put it in. Canva is a great spot. Opus Clips will do it for you and rank it for you. So it's going to say, hey, this little nugget that you gave is great. And then of course you can kind of play with it from there. Ultimately, there's a whole bunch of different places, but yeah, it's easier to turn a video that's this way into a smaller part, especially if you're not because if you give yourself the distance, then that's easier, right? Having it be where it's okay, it's still here kind of a thing. Or if it's two people talking in this video, you can go here to here, right? Yeah, all different ones will do that. So that's kind of just been putting that together.
So it's distance, 4 feet.
I don't know on that.
We can
2 feet. Right? So, and then that's where if you think, I always laugh because Jason Abrams says, if you, the thing that he always hears is, I don't like how I sound, or I don't like how I look on camera. And he says, well, that's how you sound and that's how you look. So get over it. Right? And people still like you. Right? And that's where then it's yeah, I mean, out of all the people in the world, you're not trying to get all of them, right, to be your fan. But how can you go get that chunk who is going to be the right spot in the right place that you want to be in that right relationship with?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. I love it. Other questions? These are good.
So name your top 3 platforms or top 4 platforms. So you said ChatGPT, you said
Okay, so you're thinking AI platforms.
Yeah, so if you were to pick 4 and just stick with the 4, which would they?
Okay.
For newbies,
right?
Assume newbies.
So I think the big thing is it's a lot of also what you're wanting to get out of it. I think ChatGPT is great in a lot of ways. I think Claude has taken a really big forefront in what it does. I think Gemini has some great aspects, especially for research. The cool part is you guys at KW have a free pro version. So you just sign in through your KW email and you get a pro version. So you don't even have to pay for that, right? And then the last one it's tricky because there's so many other good ones. If I was going to go to 4, I would probably, but I mean, I don't know, recently.
And it changes.
It changes. That's the hardest part. Today, the other one that I'm using is still Grok. So, but they're always kind of, and that's like, okay, the brain side of it. That's not the other aspects of what you can do. Like, but yeah.
Just, because I missed a lot of things. Have you ever thought of adding the hot links bonuses that come with being a KW agent? Like
That's a genius idea.
pros and what you come with it. Like,
Yeah, so you can kind of
actually know what you plug into and what's already paid for. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good idea. So, okay.
Bonus by Rachel is you.
Yeah. Yeah, just like they do at school.
MREA podcast it was, I think it was the guy. He said, you need to use a little bit of every single AI.
I agree.
You can't just limit it to 4, you have to go and ask 4 of them the same question to derive your answer to the whole picture.
And the reason why he brought that up is because it's like if you had one genius in your family, right? Then okay, right? You wouldn't go just to that one genius if you also had 4 or 5 others that you could go ask to be part of your board, right? Yes, like asking one is going to be better than asking none, right? But having it be where it's like they all have different experiences, they all have different where, like kind of where, what, and how. So like even so right now with Harold, so when I am going through and asking a question about something specific, I a lot of times have Harold because his brain is ChatGPT, and then he has Gemini and Grok integrated with him as different muscles, right? So he can go and use those when he wants. He also has Manus in there. So it's pretty cool. So like if I go say, hey, I'm doing this kind of a thing, like for example, one of the things I'm doing right now, so when it's done, I would love to have it work with you, get more of you guys, is I'm actually having my AI go do a deep dive research into every agent, right? About how their GEO is. I know. And it ranks it and it tells what you're good at and what you're not good at, and it creates a full page on it. Right. So what's cool about that is when I was creating it at the beginning too, I had it go and compare with each one. So it created the idea, and then it also then from the idea went and said, hey, what do I need to change? And then it came back with all the results. So the whole thing is, how are you using them for what you're doing in those multiple ways for that thought process, right? Yeah.
How did that work?
It is. It's very nerdy. It's very nerdy. Yeah. So that's it's a whole nother lesson. So, and that's where like ultimately it's going to be, pick the tools, use them in that way. One of the videos that my AI has told me I need to do this week, so I'm doing it, is about teaching the different tools that you guys should be using. So answering this question, but also going into kind of the 3 levels of using AI. So it's going to be very much of, okay, you have first level is that whole chat functionality. The level beneath that is only asking it questions like Google. I'm not even going to talk about that level, but that's the first level. So then it's, okay, using chat. So it's like having it be where you now have meetings with your board, however that is, and with that. So like you can kind of go from the what do I need to do to that, right? Then the next level is going to be having AI work with you to some degree. And that's going to be your co-work, your codex, that kind of information of saying, I'm going to now use this to help me get certain things done with me at that level. Then the next level is where you're getting to it being a coordinator and agentic. And that's where you're going to have it be where I'm hoping to get a lot more of you too, where it's helping out with your emails. It's helping giving you a morning or evening brief, where it's doing those steps for you and with you so that you can have it be kind of that personal assistant kind of aspect. No?
So that was with Claude. Is that like an add-on to it?
Good question.
Or is that part of it?
Good question. So co-work is Claude's basically app.
Oh.
So it's like what you download on your computer. So when you download and have Claude on your computer, the co-work or even the coding side, if you get a little more nerdy, they're both the same in a lot of ways. One's just more user friendly and the other is more of like integrated into your computer. Those are more of the working aspect. So you can start getting to those next two levels by doing that, right? Codex is ChatGPT's version of that. So it's just the thing is all of them kind of have those different levels. It just depends on what you're wanting to do. And that's where it's not, hey, I want to have it be where you guys are all going creating your systems that differently. I want to have it be where it's like, what are those things that you know that you're already doing well that you could also now with your time be able to get done even better, right? And that's where it's like, I think the morning brief, having it integrated with your calendar and having it where it tells like the day, I right now have mine for every day before. So like every night at 8:30, Harold messages me and says, hey, here's what's coming up tomorrow. Yep. Here's what, yeah, yeah. Ava got shut down. We won't talk about that. So, it's just one of those things. But so Harold messages me every day at 8:30, tells me what's on my schedule for the next day, notices where I might have conflicting information, notices and mentions according to my goals, because he has and lives in all my goal aspects as well, and goes and tells me what might be misaligned. And then he also, when I have gaps in my day, then he also we have a conversation about it before I go to bed, and he fills in my gaps. So he says, all right, during this time, you should be reaching out to agents in this way. And then he blocks it on my calendar. And then he goes and says, all right, that kind of thing. So like, I think the morning brief is a great one because it helps you to kind of get a little bit more of that concept of knowing what's coming up and preparing, which is a great way to use AI to help you. It's one of my other favorite ones that I just started this week, and I'm kind of blabbing on now, but it just started this week. Is if you guys line showings up north, it puts on your calendar and it says like, hey, somebody's showing this listing, right? And then it shows like you as the listing agent and then who the buyer agent is. So now Harold, every single day when he sees those, he ignores it as if it's in my calendar, but what he does is he drafts and gets ready and then emails them for follow-up questions. So he already then goes and then at 30 minutes after that showing, he emails and say, hey, how did the showing go? Da, 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 da. So even though the system already sends something, I know way too many of us agents ignore that, right? Of giving the feedback. Right. So now he emails and does that for me in that way. So the whole thing is like, what are those things that you know that you want to do or are doing that if you had an executive assistant that they could do that, right? And that's kind of where it's like, what are those ones that you're slowly just adding to that to help get you more time, right? Because that's your most important commodity. So it's how are you using that? The other big thing I want to tell you, because I've experienced it, don't do AI and block your whole day for the next 5 days of learning how to do AI. Because the hardest part is that's not going to be the one thing that makes you guys money. Go talk to people, right? Go have it be where you have the main priorities. I would say if you're spending like 25, 40 minutes a day on kind of having the AI and like kind of helping you summarize your day and what's next and how do you do that and then what can you do, I think that's a great way to do it, right? But that's kind of be like, what is your kind of almost playing time to help improve your business on a daily basis after your morning block? Like, yeah. Other questions? We have a couple more minutes.
Why can't we have alarm showing something?
I don't know.
We have Broker Bay. Yeah, but my question is, does Broker Bay work on the same level as what you're saying with Align?
Well, the thing is, that's just how I set up Harold to do it anyways. So it's not going to be about that one system. It's going to be you can have it correct. And you don't have to send it to your calendar. You could just have it make a note because it looks at your email. And then at that time, does that, right? So like that's the thing is a lot of those things you can do. Again, this isn't okay, what are the systems that you're using? It's how and what are those things that you can do in that way for that next level. So, yeah. Any others? Okay, well, awesome, guys. I appreciate y'all. And I think that's not